YouTubers, this is Nurse J at Nursing the Truth, and I hope everyone's having a great day today. And yes, I have a little bit of makeup on. I went and ate some lunch with my wonderful husband, so you get to see the other side of me. And yes, I'm wearing the LSU Tiger purple shirt. So as usual, I have my God Thoth here behind me, giving me a little bit of truth and wisdom to bring to you guys today. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, the infamous Titus Flavius Josephus, and was his stuff doctored to prove mythical creatures. So, who are we inferring about? Would it be Jesus the Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus the brother of James? So let's kind of see about where all this is taking us. So now you know in Josephus's Antiquities of the Jews there are two, you hear me, two things that are written in his books about the most famous man in history and in all of Christendom. You mean to tell me this is the only thing you're going to say about the man that walked on water, had 12 disciples, cured many of their diseases, and fed 5,000 with 2 fishes and loaves of bread? So, this is what Josephus says about Jesus. Now, there was about this time Jesus a wise man, if it be lawful to call him a man. Excuse me? Lawful to call him a man? But the Christians are gonna say, oh, he talked about the Son of God. For he was a doer of wonderful works, a teacher of such men as received the truth with pleasure. He drew over to him both many of the Jews and many of the Gentiles. That's a lie, because the Gentiles didn't want to have anything to do with them. He was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. Got to know scriptures, peeps. He was the Christ, and when Pilate, at the suggestion of the principal men among us, had condemned him to the cross, those that loved him at first did not forsake him, for he had appeared to them alive again on the third day, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. And the tribe of Christians, so named from him, are not extinct at this day. So we have a little bit of problem. Let's break this down right quick. So the Christians are excited because Josephus has this in there. Well, friends, if he was really talking about the Son of God or God come in the flesh, he wouldn't be mocking this title, saying if it was lawful to call him a man. That's kind of like a slap in the face. He didn't draw a whole lot of people because now in some of the Gospels he drew large crowds and people were coming from all over, what the scriptures tell us, but some people wasn't even buying it. Some of his disciples even walked off and left him. And then he says, are you all gonna leave? I'm paraphrasing. It's in your Bible. And Josephus, quote unquote, an Orthodox Jew, would have never called Jesus the Christ because they did not believe he was the Christ. Because in the Jewish scriptures, the original Hebrew scriptures, it never talks about a Messiah that was coming to do all these things and die and raise on the third day. Never. Also, know your Jewish laws. The Jews never have 2 high priests. So this bull crap about Ananias and Caiaphas being 2 high priests, you only have 1. Okay? 1. And that's over everything. And they never had trials, and especially at night, and especially during this Passover mess, because the Exodus never happened. These poor people, even they have been misled of these traditions. Now, also, let's get about the word Christians. You know, it's funny because in Eusebius's writings, and I do believe in Philo's writings as well, they talk about the very first Christians being the Essenes. Ooh, that causes problems because you know what? The Essenes was a Jewish sect. S-E-C-T. That has nothing to do with a Christ. And this is historical information. Emperor Hadrian, had a corresponding letter in 134 AD that talks about the followers of Serapis. It tickled him to know that they were called Christians. Yes, you heard it on Nurse J's channel. Check it out. It's even on Wikipedia. So, Josephus wrote 2 books, the most important ones. Josephus' Antiquities of the Jews and the Jewish and Rome War. He also wrote Against Apion, and he also wrote the Bella Judicaea, and he also wrote the Life of Josephus. And all of this is in the complete works, so you must check it out. Now, how can someone write about a man that walked and knew everything when Josephus was born in 37 and died approximately 100? He did not see any of this. It even gets better. Philo, the Hellenistic Alexandrian Jew, was a contemporary, and out of all of his books, he never mentions anything regarding a Jesus or the darkness over the sky when Jesus was hung on the cross. No busting out of graves and walking and talking to your kinfolks. Don't you think that if all these people busted out of their graves in their clothes, that Philo of Alexandria wouldn't have written about this? True historical stuff that Josephus did write about was about John the Baptizer. No, his last name was not Baptist. And no, the Baptist denomination is not after him. Or could it be? You choose. So Josephus does talk about John the Baptist. And did you know there's only one paragraph about John the Baptist in all of his Antiquities of the Jews? And did you know that it has nothing to do about John baptizing Jesus. It only is referencing how Herod Antipas was afraid that John the Baptist was so likable and had a great reputation that he was afraid that he was going to lead an insurrection. And did you know that Rome really didn't care who you worshiped or what you did so long as you paid your taxes and you didn't lead a rebellion? Because once you did, my truth seekers and Gnostics and pagans alike, you were crucified. But they were so scared of Johnny Boy that they cut his head off. It has nothing to do about Salome dancing to her daddy, going, bring me John the Baptist's head. I want that for my party or my birthday or my wish. That's BS. Now, some of the people that Josephus also talks about is other proclaimed messiahs of the first century. Remember, I told you that there was a star prophecy written hundreds of years prior to the first century stating that there was going to be a person to rise up at this particular time and take the strongholds and crush Rome. But that never happened. These included Judas the Galilean, Theudas the magician, and an unnamed Egyptian Jew, and many more. Truth seekers, it is hard to convince the others that are in the sheeple pen. But I was one of those as well, and I can laugh at the ignorance. So, here's another thing. The above passage was not known before the 4th century, which that equates to the 300s. Not a single writer before the 4th century, not Justin, not Irenaeus, Clement of Alexandria, Tertullian, Cyprian, Arnobius, etc. In all their defenses against pagan hostility, makes not a single reference to Josephus's works. Origen of Alexandria did not quote the said paragraph because this paragraph had not been written. Quote, unquote, from your Catholic encyclopedia states, the passage of Testimonium Flavium seems to suffer from repeated interpolations. Bishop Eusebius of Caesarea, that little rat, he will get everything he deserves in the next lifetime and the lifetime after that. The great church propagandist and self-confessed liar for God was the first person known to have quoted this wonderful paragraph of Josephus about the year of 340. Did you hear what I just said? Josephus wrote this book approximately between 93 and 95 CE. And Eusebius, after the Council of Nicaea 325, interpolated this passage into this. please share this video and let people's mind expand about the information they're hearing. Josephus was an Orthodox Jew, and he will always be an Orthodox Jew. No Jew in Orthodoxy, even till this day, say that Jesus is the Messiah. Another thing Josephus would have never said, as the divine prophets had foretold these and 10,000 other wonderful things concerning him. You take the Isaiah prophecy of Emmanuel, God with us, and born of a virgin. If you read the chapter in context, it's talking about Isaiah's son, not Jesus of Joseph and Mary. The bogus passage is clearly a deviant invention of Catholic priests. You dirty, rotten bastards. Yes, you are. And you will all burn in your little make-believe world of the lake of fire. Using concepts like pious frauds, and yes, dear truth seekers, look up the word pious frauds. This is nothing but propaganda by the new Christian religion. Eusebius was the great church historian. Justus of Tiberias was also a historian, a rival to Josephus, and from the same region. Get that. His work was not easily doctored. His histories did not make it through the Christian Dark Ages, the nasty little monks, and are, as they say, lost to us. I have read the chronology of Justus of Tiberias, and being under the Jewish prejudices, as indeed he was himself also a Jew by birth, he makes not one mention of Jesus, of what happened to him, or of the wonderful works that he did. This is quoted from Photius, the Patriarch of Constantinople, in the 9th century. Josephus knows absolutely nothing of Christians, because in his Antiquities of the Jews, he has went through all the sects that were known at this time, of the Sadducees, the Pharisees, and the Essenes. And the last little tidbit hanging from that would be your fourth philosophy group. And in that group were the little Sakari dagger men, and they were all Jews. So, in the year of 53, Josephus states when he was 16, he was in all three of those, that he had went through the initiatory processes of the first three that I had mentioned. So, you're telling me that at 53 AD, when Josephus only said that those sects were up and running, the Bible states in Acts 9 and 31 that the Christian explosion was going, and there were churches throughout Judea and Galilee and Samaria, and all were edified. And this bullshit Council of Jerusalem was supposed to have taken place. Josephus says nothing about an existence of 12 apostles, nor does he breathe a word about Paul. But I showed you the real historical Saul and how they twisted this Saul to make the Paul. There were several Jesuses running around at this time, and there was one called Judas the Galilean. He was the son of Cepheus, who opposes Josephus and is associated with the Simon and John, and has a following of sailors and poor people, one of whom betrays him, whereupon he is captured by a stratagem. His immediate followers forsake him. Before this point, Jesus has taken 70 of the Galileans with him as hostages, and making them his friends and companions on his little journey, sets them to judge causes. And this is the hint for Luke's story of the 70 disciples. This is quoted in Josephus's life in paragraph 12 and paragraph 27. There are also two Talmuds, a Talmud Jerusalem in 5 AD and a Talmud of Babylon in 6 AD. The one of the 1st century BCE talks about Yeshua ben Pandera, and the 2nd century AD talks about a Yeshua ben Strada. And these are quoted in the Shabbat 104b, Sanhedrin 67a, Sanhedrin 107b, and Sota 47a. In the 3rd century, Church Father Origen is to be believed, written in the Contra Celsum. Celsus is the pagan opponent of Christianity, writing in the late 2nd century. He had heard from Jewish sources the scandalous rumor that, now this is what Origen is saying, that he heard from the Jewish sources that the scandalous rumor that our Jesus was a result of an illicit affair between Miriam, a young Jew, and a Roman trooper called Pentheus. The woman had been driven off by her husband when he discovered she had got herself pregnant by a soldier of the occupying power. Conclusion. The Jesus of the Gospels never existed. Not at least the Jesus whom we know through the Gospels. Following is a list of important Christian authorities who studied and or mentioned Josephus, but not the passage. Justin Martyr, Theophilus, Irenaeus, Clement of Alexandria, Hippolytus, Masunius Felix, Anatolius, Chrysostom, Methodius, and Photius. I hope this has been an enlightened video. I want you to research, just like I have researched. I have read Josephus's books. I will continue to bring you more enlightening stories like this. So please like, share, and subscribe, and hit your little notification button to where you can see my videos. I try to make this funny. I try to make it enjoyable to watch. I know I'm a little comical at times, but I'm very serious in my research. So please get the shout out. I want to bring truth and knowledge to everyone, and let's get out of this menagerie and get out of the spider webs. We got to get out of it, folks. This is too much and has been way too long. So with that being said, Hotep, Ashe, and we will see you later.